Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin, doctor, your habit coach, and today we're going to be talking about dating. All right, now there are so many different myths around dating. There is this uncomfortable feeling. Some people are very comfortable, some people are looking for completely different things, and it's a complete hodgepodge. So today we have a dating, intimacy, and sex coach with us to understand and demystify this entire world of dating. So, Aili, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm very excited by this episode because there is just so much here to unpack. Um, Ellie, I want to jump straight in with this observation that I made the other day. Okay, so I was scrolling through a friend's Bumble app. So I was like, oh, tell me, show me what this app is about. And in the help section, there was this one thing that said that for articles on burnout due to dating, click here. Like, I was like, people are burning out by dating? Like, what is happening to this world?
Yeah, I think there is half of the population is burning out, and half of them are like barren
But
lands of no
nobody's
dates.
getting any dates.
Yeah, so definitely, like online dating has opened so many more opportunities, and women are more open to dating today. Like I remember when I first started working with dating apps, as a consumer researcher of that sort, we had a lot of women and young girls who were ashamed of being on dating apps, and I'm talking about not even so long ago, like maybe 10 years.
Mhm.
But now everyone is out there, and dating is almost like a hobby. You can just go on a date. If one night when you're feeling bored, you just go out on a date. So it's not about that human connection that everybody kind of aspires to when they go on a date, but it's just like going to the movies or going for a meal out. And burnout, I think, happens when we have very different expectations from the reality, and those expectations are not communicated before the actual meeting. Now, dating can also mean chatting, right? Like you could be dating online and just chatting and not meeting the person.
Correct.
So, how much will you chat? For how long? That never gets established. And that's one of the things that I coach people about. So when you start chatting, I mean, first of all, I break down the entire experience into like three slots. Like first one is to get matches online,
Okay.
so standing out by the things that you say on your profile and the images. And then the next phase is communicating. Third phase is meeting. So in that communication phase, at what point do you say like, okay, I want to meet after a couple of days of chatting, or like this is so much chatting that I'm willing to do. And usually I find like women tend to chat longer while men are like, okay, let's just meet.
Right.
So that's where the burnout comes. There is no communication like of expectations at the beginning of the engagement.
So, which part of this entire process is considered dating? Like, how would you define dating in today's day and age?
it's very it's very tough to define dating. I mean, everybody has their own notions. So personally, I feel you start dating when you have, given an intention, like when there is an intention out there. Like, I'm going on a dating app, I'm creating a profile, I am a single person looking for someone, or I'm a polyamorous non single person looking for someone to date. So, you set an intention, and that's when it starts.
Right.
It can be just meeting people in a bar, or it can be again being on a dating app, maybe even being on Instagram. So it starts from the sort of like flirting stage, or you setting the intention and then reaching out to connect with someone,
And
either physically or emotionally.
I love that. It's that intention setting that defines whether this is dating or this is not. Like, is this turning into just like a friendship, maybe?
Yeah, this is to me.
Right.
But to many people, it means different things. Like I mean, I've heard people saying, for example, that, oh, we were, friends for 3 years, and, but actually we were dating. I think we were dating. I'm not really sure. So it is very, again, it's like if you don't have, if you don't feel like you need to, or you can express your needs, or express your interest towards someone, you're in that friend zone. And it's a very kind of gray area, because You understand you're a friend, maybe the other person is waiting for you to make a move, nobody is doing anything, and that can drag forever.
Forever.
Forever, yeah.
This whole dreaded friend zone, right? Like people keep talking about, I'm in the friend zone. Oh, I've been friend zoned. How do you guide people out of it?
Again, you have to coach people to be able to express desire,
Right.
and stepping out of the friend zone. And the biggest problem is that we are all afraid of rejection, right? So rejection is something that we are not used to dealing. We are really scared, and when someone rejects us, we feel that I am wrong, and then we go back into the crazy dating pool with this idea that I'm wrong because I've been rejected once or twice, and I am wrong, and therefore there is nobody out there for me. And that's when we fall into the kind of desert zone where there is nobody out there for me, and I'm a lonely soul, and how can people date, and I'm not dating, I'm not really like.
I'm not looking for somebody. I'm looking for somebody, but technically I've not found somebody.
Yeah,
I'm not meeting anyone.
exactly. Yeah,
What
yeah.
about people that say that, oh, there are no good men left, there are no good women left? Like, what is going on in their mind? Like, clearly that's not true.
That's a very controversial question.
But it's true, right? So many people have said that, oh, I've gone through all the men in South Bombay, none of them are, worthy of me. Like, how do you change that attitude? Like, where
Uh,
does that come from?
that's when you increase your miles. You move out from South Bombay and reach like worldly seaface.
Right.
Yeah, like you need to be open to the experience. It is exhaustive for sure, but you have to also look, I mean, we have to also look, myself included, we have to look at the expectations that we have
Mm,
out of who we are dating and why we're dating. Now, if I'm looking for someone who is smart, rich, good looking, funny, confident, then we are looking at an ideal that perhaps doesn't exist. And you are bound to feel disappointed. Instead of looking out there for things that you don't have, I always kind of say, like, let's see, like, what is it that you need? Do you need all these things? Why do you need them so much? Do you have friends that actually fulfill those needs for you? Financial, like, stability, are you not financially stable?
right.
Like, why do you have to rely on somebody else? So these are questions that you really need to ask yourself when you're dating. Like, you are out there to do what? Are you just fulfilling certain needs? Or is there an opportunity for you to fulfill those needs within yourself or with other people, like friends or other partners or whatever, if you're monogamous, non-monogamous, etc.
So setting that intention right in the beginning of what it is that you want. Coming back to like when we were talking about dating. So what is it that you want is the starting point. Do you suggest people make a list of what
Yeah.
they want from a person?
Yeah, so how I work is usually, and you're familiar with coaching, so
Right.
it's like it's a similar framework. When we go out in the dating world, we don't think, we have references through movies, right? So we think that everything needs to be spontaneous and natural, and we need to like have chemistry, and it's going to be bam boom, and then we are in this sort of dating relationship, whatever. It's coming from narratives that have been kind of, we've been exposed to for a number of years or decades, or even like a couple of 100 years. But actually, the easiest way is to sit down and figure out what your strengths are, what kind of relationship you're looking for, and then look at all the different aspects, like, again, money, physical intimacy, values, like what kind of values are you looking for, even if it's a hookup. If you are of a certain, political opinion, for example, or if you are from you believe in a certain religious practice, etc., you actually don't want to go and hook up with someone who doesn't match that set of values at all, right? So you look at values, you look at your own strengths, what kind of qualities you would want to have in the other person. You look at also at your own attachment style, what kind of attachment style you would want in another person. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with
Hmm.
attachment styles, but like, if I'm anxious, then you might want to find someone who's secure and is able to actually communicate with you. Okay, how many times you need to be texted in a day for you to not freak out,
Correct.
for example. Then I look at like life goals. If people are looking for like a long term, or they're looking to fall in love, because a lot of people dating are looking to fall in love, they
Mm.
hope that it's going to happen. So it's important, when you are even hoping of falling in love, you check out like what are the goals of this person, like the next 5 years, where do they see themselves? Or besides goal, again, like what are their values, what do they believe in, what are their strengths, what kind of families are they coming from, what kind of previous relationships did they have, what went wrong is very, very
So
important.
much baggage that we're carrying, right?
Yeah, you need to know what is the baggage, right? For you to even step into something, like what is the baggage, am I capable of actually taking a little bit of that baggage, because that baggage will come with everyone.
Correct.
So yeah, prepare, like think about it, sit, and it doesn't take long, it takes like 15 minutes. You just map it down, what are your needs that you want to be met through this engagement, through this relationship. Maybe you're just looking for someone to have fun with.
Mm.
So there's nothing wrong in writing in your dating profile like, hey, I'm looking for someone to like maybe have crazy weekends, and that's all,
Right.
you know
I,
so yeah.
I think putting that out there, so knowing what you want and putting that out there is one critical aspect of getting the right kind of person
Yeah.
to date. And so now you figured out what kind of person you want. Okay, you managed to connect with that person and you go out on a date. Is there dating etiquette? Are there stages to dating? Is there like a step by step procedure? Is there just like go with the flow? Are there tips? Like, what is it about dating when you meet the person for the first time?
I think a lot of communication happens with, besides the chatting that happens prior to that, or the conversations that happen to that. The next stage is when you meet. There's a lot of communication between bodies, like body language, these signals that we give to each other. And although it's fine if both are with, they agree prior, or even when they meet, like, let's see how it goes, let's go with the flow, then it's perfectly fine. So there is no particular etiquette. Is like, what is it that you want to achieve from that evening? Is it just like a chat over a glass of wine or a coffee to understand the person better, or is it like you going on an adventure, I don't know, to Mahabaleshwar,
Hmm.
Lonavala, or somewhere?
Right.
um so there is no etiquette. The only etiquette is, what that I kind of coach about, is one, attuning to the other person, being curious about them. That's like mandatory, otherwise nothing works out. You need to be curious about the person, and you need to be able to share as much. If you're not curious about the person, the attraction is not gonna be there at all. So attuning to them with eye contact, certain breathing exercises for people who are maybe introverts or are shy, to calm their anxiety. A lot of people go on dates and they're very, very anxious and they cannot be themselves.
Right.
So a lot of exercises to kind of calm the nervous system down, relax them. And then, communication, like how do you even communicate with someone? So there are a lot of tricks and strategies to communicate better. There are multiple frameworks that exist. One is definitely nonviolent communication.
Non-violent,
Yeah, it's a
which means
framework. It's based on basically needs, feelings, and requests.
okay.
And it's a very specific framework that it's usually used in conflict management.
Hmm.
And it
And
is
we use it in dating.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
oh,
So you express your need.
okay.
When the need is not met, you express the feeling,
Hmm.
but you don't do it in a way where you are accusing the other person or making you feel a certain way. You just sort of saying like, this happened. For example, we are on a date, and the person maybe says something to the waiter that you don't like.
Ah,
So you can address that, like, when someone does that, without saying when you did it, like, when someone does that, I feel in a certain way.
correct.
Okay. So, then you place a request. Like, it'll be nice if next time, we do it in this XYZ way, or like,
You
I
didn't
would
whistle
appreciate it.
to the waiter or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are kind of deeper communications. Then talking about feelings is very, very important. Um, mirroring the other, mirroring as a strategy, just repeating what the other person said, that shows that you are kind of listening to what they're saying. It gives them also time and opportunity to elaborate what they're trying to say. And I always tell people, like, try and map how much you talk and how much you listen. Because most of the time, there's always one talking person, the other one is listening. And then at the end of the evening, the person who's listening, they just go back home. It's like, wow, man, this chick or this dude, like, they were just talking about themselves, and like, what is this? And then they're not going to give you feedback. They're just not going to see you again.
Correct.
Same thing happens if you ask too many
Mm.
questions,
Oh, it
because
turns into a job interview.
exactly. And sometimes people don't realize that this is going on, and but you only realize it post mortem, basically, like, oh, that day really really didn't feel okay.
Correct.
And it's good to give feedback to people. It's good because it will improve
So
it.
seriously, after a date, you would give feedback to somebody?
Ideally, you should,
Mm.
not just for them, like, it's also for you to be able to express how you felt. It's for you to be able to understand what is it that you need and feel.
Okay.
Okay. So and that's why I call it self discovery. It's mindful dating, where you discover yourself
Through the
together through
process
the process
of
of
dating.
dating. Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a nice twist to this whole thing about, very often people think that I have to date, and in order to date, I have to become somebody else, right? They wear these masks, and like you're saying, have anxiety. I was talking to a friend of mine who said that all my first dates have been drunk, right? Because if I don't have alcohol, I don't think I'm myself with that person. And then on the third date, when I decide not to drink, I'm boring. So, it starts these stories in their minds and becomes so difficult to extract yourself from it.
Yeah. It takes work, and it takes a bit of self awareness, and not everybody is there in always. So it's not easy. It's like human interaction. Human beings and relationships are the most difficult thing ever, whether it's a dating experience or whether it's like a relationship with your boss, with an employee, with your family members. Human relationships are just the matrix.
So complex, right?
It's the matrix.
The Matrix.
Hello, hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk about plant-based meat and Reliance's succession plan. On Don Baika Gappa Aika, Aparna and Avanti discuss how the generation of parents are moving away from the traditional approach. On Press Decode, Sara Vagda and Prafula decode the Udaipur and Amravati killings. On the Musafir Stories, Saif and Faiza talk to Amol Vanjari, co-founder of Orange Odyssey, about curating heritage experiences around Nagpur. And on IVM Likes, Snehil, Antariksh, Saurabh and Abbas fawn over Shah Rukh Khan, celebrating his 30th anniversary in Bollywood. Do not forget, IVM Podcast has just launched its merch and the first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcast website, click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please, please, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening to. You can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Boat Lifestyle, Small Case, Cap Gemini, Intel vPro, and Intel. Future Banao Wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
How do people like on the habit coach? Obviously, we talk about repetition, repetition, repetition. You become better at something,
Hmm.
right? In dating, also, I'm guessing it follows a similar
Yeah.
format.
Yes, exactly the same.
How do you suggest people do that?
Um,
Weekly, monthly,
like the
daily?
frequency of dating.
Frequency? Like how long does it take to become good at it?
Um, I think uh, becoming good at it means that you have understood yourself well.
Okay.
More than like the experiences, maybe you have 3 dates and you figured out so much about yourself that you're like, next date you go to, you're just confident, like you are there being open about who you are, you're being vulnerable, you are being able to express your needs, you're able to express, your feelings, etc., etc., and then you're set. Some people might take forever because that self awareness is not there. A lot of people just like blame it
On
to
the other person.
on the other person, on the world, on women, on men, on men from South Bombay, women from
Yeah.
Lokhandwala. Like, this is like always an opportunity to blame the other, while we know that the opportunity is actually to work with ourselves and what we have, because we cannot change the
The
world,
other
and
person.
we pretty much know that the only thing we can change is ourselves.
Andy, this reminds me of a quote that I read from a book. I remember, I think the first time we spoke, I told you about this. It's just that it's on the art of conversation. And the person says that the ownership of the conversation always lies with you, right? If you're interacting with somebody, it's always your ownership that the conversation goes well. It's never the other person. Then we always end up blaming the other person for these things.
Yeah, I mean, always there are two people. So obviously it's 50-50. You can put yourself out there halfway. And if the person doesn't come your way, then there is no relationship. If you have to stretch yourself 80% each and every time, like doing it once in a while, in the sense, not everybody is at their best all the time. And
Mhm.
you don't need to be as a human being. It's fine to be at your 20% as well.
Correct.
Being aware of the fact that maybe today you are not in the best mind of, for dating, but being able to say to the person, like, I came out with you, but actually, I'm feeling a bit bad today. I'm not like really happy, but I just wanted to like talk to you and meet you and stuff. So that already opens the conversation, because the other person will say, like, what happened? And that's when you start talking about yourself. So it's like a kind of,
In fact, you just gone deeper in that conversation
yeah,
just by saying that instead
yeah.
of putting on a fake face, by just saying that you've gone deeper and probably created a better connection that you would have otherwise. Bad dates. What do you do when a date is going south dramatically?
Again, I mean, sometimes you just go along because you're used to that, but ideally you should, um again, like, if you are aware that it's going wrong, because sometimes if we are drunk, for example, if someone is high, you're down, like, your 5 drinks, and you are not feeling it, but you're high, so you're not really able to sense that you're not feeling it. That's when the problem starts. In fact, you should have most dates like when you're sober,
Correct.
because when it's going wrong, you should be able to feel it in your body. It's actually somatic. When you start feeling uncomfortable, the trick, or like the best way, would be to express it, like, this is not going the way I want. I'm really sorry, but okay, I'm gonna go. A lot of people don't do that. They just stay through the experience. But I mean, to be honest, I see that also as a learning opportunity. Like, why did I stay? It's an inquiry to yourself. Like, why did I stay? Was I trying to make this person happy? Am I trying to like conform certain norms, societal norms about, who I am, my identity? Am I a pleaser? Am I, can I say no without feeling guilty?
Right.
So it's a self inquiry when the
When
to
the
me
date
at
goes
least. So
bad.
like, that's what I preach.
I love it. Everyone listening to it is like, "Arey, I just thought it was swiping left, right, left, right. Now you're telling me to introspect also. Soon she'll tell me you to start journaling in the morning. What is going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
There's journaling as well. Do you have a
Always,
date journal?
always, always.
Date journal. Okay, guys, new habit, date journal. We're gonna do an entire episode on the date journal. Let's switch this a little bit. Okay. Now, I'd gone with a friend of mine for a arranged marriage setup. Okay. And this was the first time I was ever going to one of these, arranged marriage setup things like this. And I was like, wow, this is like dating but different. How do you help people with that? Do you work with people who are going, and meeting lots of people for these arranged marriage things?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, are
And
there?
I think a lot of people think that I don't get it because I'm like a foreigner.
Yeah.
But I have been set up on arranged marriage
Are
dates. Like
lovely.
when I was in the UK, I had this Gujarati friend, Patel friend, and she would always try to get me married and like set me up on dates on Garba nights, like we had this Navratri kind of dating system that exists in India and with NRIs as well. So suddenly she would pull me and she'll say like, okay, there's this guy, he owns like buffaloes, or like he has like a farm full of like mangoes, like speak to him.
I
It'll be
love it.
so
Mangoes and buffaloes. All right.
it was so awkward but very, very fascinating. Yeah, I do get
I also have
clients
a
like
farm of
that.
mangoes. I don't
Oh,
have
you do?
buffaloes. Yeah, I have two cows though. Ah, damn it. I
Damn.
miss the buffaloes.
Yeah, so I mean, I do coach people who are getting into arranged marriage. I think there it's almost easier for me
Okay.
because the intention is to
Ah,
stay.
very set.
The intention is very clear. We're getting married, we are planning to spend a whole lifetime together. So even more so, are the values matching? Not just yours, but your family's. Are you moving into that family? A lot of people, like, they find it challenging because they go on these arranged marriage dates. Everything is perfect, family is perfect, values is perfect, bank accounts are fine, horoscopes are fine, but I don't feel attracted.
Mm.
There's no spark,
Hmm.
so they want that spark as well. So that's the challenge, like, you might not find the spark. Is that spark important for a life story? You don't necessarily have to create a love story out of a life story.
Right.
You can have a love story that it's very intense, very, romantic and passionate and all of that, but is that gonna last? So if your goal is to make something last, sometimes emotions that are not so explosive are better.
Mm. Absolutely.
So make a list of priorities. What are your priorities in life? Like, do you want your parents to get along with this person? Is that a priority for you? Maybe you don't care, you're going to move abroad somewhere and it really doesn't matter, and that's your plan. So obviously, and plan do change and life situations change. So when I coach people that are in the arranged marriage scene, I always speak to the families also to figure out, like, we have this entire workshop where we go and, like, okay, now this is life situation, you're struggling having babies, or you have a baby. What are the things that can happen within the family? What are the kind of conflicts? Who's going to take care of that? Like, how do you deal with stressful situations? So it's more like planning life scenarios and how individual people look like are going to behave in those scenarios, and
That's
then
very
say,
heavy to talk about in the first
yeah, no,
session.
that's at a later stage. But yeah, the first session is, it's not that you go to an arranged marriage, you have to meet the person at least, I suggest, for a year
Oh, wow.
regularly,
Hmm.
because you will not know until you know a lot of stuff about the person. So if
Correct.
you really want to make sure, if you're investing so much money into a marriage,
Yeah.
because people invest crores, and the same and even more crores will go into a divorce.
Absolutely.
So if you want to save money, you better get that straight. And 1 year is nothing. Whether you get married at 25 or you get married at 30 is not like a big deal. You can still, like, produce as many babies as you want these days. If that's the
In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who's probably going to listen to this podcast at some point, and I was telling him that, your arranged marriage is actually like a business deal. And if you don't treat it like a business deal, then you're actually missing the point, because the origin of the arranged marriage was two families trying to protect their property, has to have, progeny after that. So that was the essence of it. And that is what we're trying to do. And like you said, spend a year. It's an expensive process. Not only in money, but your time as well is going into all of this. So think of it as a business deal. How is it going to work? Maybe the romance has been pulled out of this process. I can understand that, but I think it's critical for us to also have that framework, no?
Yeah, like expecting to have very, very strong feelings or romantic feelings or extreme attraction for someone and getting into arranged marriage, it's a little, like,
Mm.
unrealistic.
Huh.
It's beautiful in the movies, stories, whatever, but it's not quite what
Love
it.
at first sight and stuff like that exists, doesn't exist.
Um, Personally, I
Mm-hmm.
feel that it's not. I wouldn't call it love, but everybody has a different definition of love.
Mm.
Um, you can be attracted to someone at first
Hmm.
sight. uh, what that means, you'll have to again like introspect,
What
right?
love means to you itself is a big topic that you have to introspect and figure out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very often it's last at first sight also.
Yeah, so usually attraction works with, your senses, right? Your eyes, your smell, your body language. And we really capture these things without even realizing, and then we start creating fantasies in our heads, depending on our past and our previous relationships, our childhood, whatever
We've
relationship we
built an
had, our
entire story. Yeah.
so uh, I think we create a lot of fantasies in our head, and then once after like 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, we realize that those were fantasies and the reality is something else. That's when we feel extremely disappointed. I don't love this person anymore. I'm not in love with them anymore. But that's not true. It's just that what that phase called limerence, or the phase where your hormones are engaged, that has worn off, and that's part of nature, and it happens to everyone. Like, so far I haven't met, maybe because I'm in this profession, I haven't met someone who's felt exactly the same way, excited about that person for 20 years.
Correct. It changes.
It does,
Yeah.
like, a lot.
I read a very nice quote this morning, in fact. Kavita sent it to me. And she was talking about, and the quote says that love is burying the person that your partner was over and over and over again as they change from one person to the next, the next, to the next. Because ultimately, you're going through so many different personas through your life.
Hmm.
And, it was a beautiful way of showing how people change and an aspect of that. And probably one aspect of love is this. Coming back, you were talking about senses. So it just sparked a thought. Should people wear perfume on a first date?
That's a very tricky question. Um, I personally don't think so, but I myself wear one. I think if you want to really engage in the sensorial experience, then just a very mild deodorant would work.
Hmm.
Um, sure, if you are someone who prides themselves in their sense, you are an experienced perfume connoisseur, and it's a conversation for you, then definitely, because it's part of your
Personality,
personality.
right?
If you're just doing that to cover up something that it's not really you feel uncomfortable with, like if you're uncomfortable with your own smell, then again, that's a very good opportunity to introspect.
And why like this? Change your diet. Make a change, right?
Could be, yeah.
Because I always wonder, like, it's like putting on something fake, right?
Mm.
And like you said, that we get attracted so much to the sensorial aspect of that person, the scent of that person when as they walk past, right?
Mm.
And that's also such a turn on sometimes in our mind. So why cover it up? Like, what is the way of thinking?
Yeah, and I think again, like it's one of those things that you don't talk about, like on a dating app, on a chat before meeting someone.
I
But
will
it
wear
it
perfume. I will not wear. Yeah.
it is
Mm.
it is like, just find out like what kind of perfumes do you like. Do you even like perfume? Do you like raw smell? Some people love sweat smell,
Yeah.
or like armpit smell or whatever. So find that out, because
Last question. Ideal date. Okay, so like if you had to, throughout your experience, think of what an ideal date would look like. What would it be? Would it be a dinner? Would it be a coffee? Would it be a lunch? Where would it start from? First date, ideal first date.
mine,
No, through experience, like what?
I
Like
think
yours, then
it's
you'll have a ton of people inviting you either for lunch or dinner, whatever, and trying to recreate that. So maybe that's an opportunity. Mm,
again,
mm.
like it's like there is no answer for one only answer. There's no perfect date. Like it really depends on what you both enjoy.
Okay,
Like you really have to talk about it before you meet. Like where do you want to meet? What is it that you want to do? If it's like a bookshop, or if it's a walk by the sea. Do you both enjoy being outdoors? So it's about shared experiences. It like obviously you have to leave a bit of gap to try out something new that you are not experienced with, that excites you. But there are certain common things that you will need to establish before you go on a perfect date. So And I think a lot of people do it. Like they ask, like, what do you enjoy doing? Um, where would you like to go? And obviously, then you have to share your own preferences. But yeah, I think in overall, I think a good date is where you both have both, and if it's three people going on a date, also it can be three, four,
Hmm.
like it can be
All,
just
all, all. So were you all?
yeah, where you all have shared an equal amount of vulnerability. You have listened attentively what the other person has said, where you've shared certain experiences and you have commented and expressed your views on them. So again, it's connection. It's
So whichever
sharing.
situation that can bring about the best connection. So it's not necessarily that a dinner or a lunch or a coffee.
Not at all. Yeah,
Right? You
not
go
at
to the
all.
museum for,
These are things that we've seen in movies,
and then we are trying to recreate those.
Yes. It's that's why it's important for you. It's like, what is it that I actually want to do? Like most people don't even think about it. They just see something on Instagram or they see in a movie or like, this is how you date,
Hmm.
this is what you gift, this is what you say. But why should we allow other people to dictate what is it that we want?
I think this is the biggest takeaway from me as well from this particular podcast is don't go according to what you're seeing. Like actually introspect while you're dating. This whole mindfulness dating, I absolutely love the way that you keep bringing back to this idea of mindfully date so that you discover a part of yourself.
Yeah.
Don't date so that you give yourself away. I think that is where a large part of our fears stem from. I'm just giving myself away. I think first discover yourself through the dating process and take it from there. Ali, I absolutely love this conversation. How can people reach out to you? How can people connect with you?
Okay, so I have founded an organization called the Intimacy Curator.
Okay.
We are on Instagram. We have a website. We have a Facebook page, so you can just DM, follow the page, follow us. We have like events. We do coaching. We do fun stuff. We do communities. So yeah, it's
Fantastic. All right. So on Instagram is the best way to get in touch with
yeah
you.
Instagram. Yeah,
We'll have the link in the description below
cool.
as well. Otherwise, Intimacy Curator.
Yeah, the Intimacy Curator.
The Intimacy Curator.
Yeah,
Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on the Habit Coach
thank
podcast.
you.